Hello. I think people are joining over here already. If you just watched our show, thank you so much for coming. We were very excited about it. This has been. If you just watched our show, thank you so much for coming. Sorry about that.
Bloopers.
After I told everyone to mute. Didn't mute it myself. Okay. I think that's fixed now. So thank you guys for coming. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you really got into the work. I know that we definitely took a deep dive on this one. It was kind of like I guess more of an intense topic than maybe we expected in the beginning. But I think it brought out a lot out of all of us. I am really happy with all of the work. And yeah, congrats to all of the artists here. I think you guys did an amazing job. I would like to ask whoever is watching that you guys could ask any questions that you have from what you just watched, for any of us individually or for all of us together. Whatever you got, we would love to hear from you. Any feedback or questions or comments. Thank you, Peyton. Thank you, Fritzy. I see Meg and Brandon, Brian, Ji-chan, hi. Okay, cool. Thank you guys for joining. So while we're waiting for questions, I am gonna start out with a few, and if any of you artists have any other questions too, please feel free to jump in. I have a lot of questions for each of you, but also I guess a question to all of you. How was this process? How was it treating something like a sort of a process and an actual project at the same time? I think for me, just to give a little background or explanation, for me it was kind of like I almost got so stuck in the process that I didn't have like a finished piece at the end. I did end up with something, but it really was like I was so focused on like all of the things that I could do for the process of it and like getting into that journey part of it, that I almost didn't get to any sort of destination. So I am curious to hear all of your thoughts about it too.
I will start. So when I first started this project, the first thing that obviously came to my mind was learning a new language, which was obviously way too much for like one person to handle in the span of like 2 months. But like it was just like that's like a 10-year long dream, if even, that's like a learning, even like something like just knowing how to like say hello and chat normally is too much, sometimes even in English. So saying it in a different language is a little bit tough. And so I kept like shrinking down my project to fit my practical needs of what I could actually accomplish. But it still did kind of open my eyes a little bit, and I'm so thankful for that. But yeah, like as the weeks went on for this project, I was like, I'm gonna have to shrink this down just a little bit again, just so it's something I can manage artistically and also manage as a person with a goal. So it was definitely a little bit of a hard one this time for me.
Yeah, I kind of liked how it did allow for a little bit of that flexibility. I know I procrastinate kind of a lot, and in this case, it was kind of easy to fall back on like, well, it's the journey. Like I think we all said that at least once in the process. We're like, it might not be exactly what we think it's going to be, but it's the journey. So that's what it's supposed to be about. So I feel like that was almost a crutch for a lot of us, because I think that the concept allowed all of us to be very ambitious with like what we, like our ideas and where we thought that we could take this this prompt basically, which it's good that it had both the ambition and the flexibility, because if it just was ambition and it was, I think someone made the joke, like, it's a good thing that the prompt wasn't the destination, because then we kind of, all of us would have been a little tiny bit fucked. But it was good. I think that it had kind of both flexibility and allowed you to kind of dream big, you know?
Definitely. I think I was waiting for someone to kind of just be like, this was all about the journey, and I'm just going to make a video about how I failed on this, because I think that's how we all felt at least at one point throughout this. But super interesting, honestly, as a creative person, to go through that, like the roller coaster of it. But I thought it was really cool. Anyone else want to chime in here too? And thank you, everyone. I see questions coming in. We will definitely start on those as soon as we are finished with this little discussion.
This is definitely challenging, more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I think it's just, you all set some kind of goal, start out with a list of things you want to do, and then realize why you haven't done them yet. And it kind of seeps into this project of, I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet till the last minute. So that was difficult for me too. Like having the goal of trying to show some final presentation and realizing you have so much to do for it, I guess. Not just the thing you set out to do, but the way showing how you did it, I guess. It was almost overwhelming, but I kept reminding myself it was to have fun, and everybody was like enjoyable to be with. So it's a good experience.
Yeah, for me, this show was a really good reason to finally dive into a medium that I had been thinking about trying out, but hadn't actually done. Because there's always like, well, I'll do it when I have more time, or any excuse in the book, like, but since I knew that I was starting with the goal to learn needle felting and incorporate it in my work, and then to have an actual project that I knew I was going to have to complete based on that, meant that I actually sat down and did this thing that I've been thinking about doing for like a couple years now, but hadn't done. So it is kind of challenging to have to learn something on the spot like that, but it also is a really good motivator, because I probably still would have kept putting it off otherwise.
And look how awesome it turned out for your first time. I thought it was amazing. It makes me want to try it too.
Yeah, mine, I had a completely different idea in the beginning. When we first started our meetings, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a continuation of something from the last show. And then it did a complete 180 because we were cutting down so many trees. And I was like, well, I kind of want to paint on some wood slabs. Let's see how I can deal with that. And yeah, it just completely changed for me in the last, it's probably 3/4 of it.
Totally. And I love that it's kind of been a more organic process too, because I think everyone kind of took yours. Definitely, it's like, okay, there's like actual tree slices here, I'm going to use them. But like, I think everyone kind of adapted to whatever was happening around them and just ended up going with something like that, instead of like, we all could have taken on like the most ambitious project for this, and I think all of us dumbed it down to some extent. But I guess my hope for myself anyway is that I would continue exploring this specifically, and I think it's gotten me on a really cool kind of route, and at least in mindset, to be able to kind of get into a little bit more and maybe expand my artwork into more of this style and something that has kind of that thought behind it. Okay, we have a bunch of questions. Thank you guys so much for asking. So I'm gonna get into these. Let's see where. Brandon asked, what is the main inspiration for the theme of this show? So we kind of do a little bit of we have a voting process. So we'll have a set of a couple of different themes and like formats that we can think about, and then we vote on which one that we want to use. And this one really, I think, was just well timed because of the new year, and like we start kind of 2 or 3 months ahead of the shows usually. I think we usually have 10 weeks, and this time we had a little bit less. But we started maybe in February, and it was just all about having a goal that you wanted to work towards, anything really, and kind of like thinking about that process and being inspired by whatever came to you from it. So that was kind of, if that answers your question, hopefully. We have many more questions. Peyton asked, Megan, what part of the process did you realize you wanted to include motion in your pieces, or was that your plan for some of them from the beginning?
No, it was not my plan from the beginning. I owe that to Lisa, because we do, the lovely Renee / Chii organizes weekly meetings for us when we're working on these projects and these shows. So we have like weekly chats, and we just like talk about where we're at with everything. And I had been talking about what I wanted to do, and Lisa was like, how do you think you're going to translate that into a video? And then I was imagining just like plastic photos on a video, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna like that. And so I was like, well, I need to make it move somehow, because I'm not gonna want to just like put the photo up. I'm gonna want it to be moving if it's gonna be in a video. So I kind of at that point was inspired by early seasons of America's Next Top Model, where for some reason Tyra Banks always would use this weird app that like part of the photo would move. And so then I was like, well, maybe I'll just have the subject slightly move. And so then I just kind of incorporated that into my shoots from there on out, when I was actually taking the pictures, and just kind of went rapid fire so that I had enough frames for an animation. And that's how that occurred. But I really liked how it affected the project. So thank you for that, Lisa, because that question kind of led me, I think, in a more interesting direction. I think I'm more happy with the final now. So it's fun.
Your work was very editorial, I thought. I loved that. It was. And there's another question for you, but I'll skip around a little bit so everyone doesn't have to talk for long periods. Let's see.
I love how it turned out, by the way. I love the story behind it too.
Yes, definitely. Cody asked, Kristen, what was your inspiration, and what was the most difficult part of the process of learning needle felting?
So in the beginning, I just knew that I wanted to learn felting, but I wasn't sure yet how I was going to incorporate it. I thought maybe I would just make little individual felted pieces, but then I didn't know what I'd make. And I think this was a combination of playing way too much Stardew Valley, but I literally was half asleep and had this idea of the little slime creature in a cave with gems, and I had to get up and write a note on my phone so I could go to bed and not forget that idea. So, I do a lot of embroidery work as it is, so I think it was kind of a natural progression to including the felting into that. And it was also something I hadn't really seen before elsewhere, even though they're both fabric arts. So I just kind of thought it would be fun to combine those. And once I came up with the one cave scenery, I came up with the other two separately to build it into a little series. Probably the hardest part of learning felting was trying to figure out how not to stab myself with the needles. It is very dangerous. Which you can see in the video. I finally decided I should actually wear the finger protectors that came in the kit that I got, which I probably should have done in the beginning, but we figured it out.
Is that why some of the little characters are red? Is that blood?
Fortunately, I didn't actually bleed on any of them, but I do have a nice little scar on one of my fingers.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. That's something I have blood on my work before, but not even from stabbing myself. I don't even know why I was bleeding. Sorry. Random story. Megan, you're laughing and I can't even hear you, but you're making me laugh.
I'm sorry, that was so funny. I don't even know why I was bleeding. It really was so comedic to me.
Okay, I have to explain. I think I was actually, I was very sleep deprived and dehydrated. My skin started cracking and actually like bled on the paper. So
No.
this was college days. I like doing art. Okay. More questions. Let's see. We have Sarah from Brandon. How do you decide the subjects of your illustrations? The dog dreaming, women dancing, etc. What made you choose them?
Once I figured out that I was, I wanted to be inspired by different languages, that was honestly one of the best parts, was just like going through like lists of words I could find online, and any of my favorite words, I was like, I'm just going to write that down. I'll come back to it. So I had like a list of like just 20 different words that I wanted to illustrate, because funny thing is, like, being an artist, it's like they teach you in college, like, oh, you never pick your first idea. I feel like I always pick my first idea. The first thing that pops into my head that I'm like, oh, I want to draw that, that's usually like the route I go, and that's what I usually have the most fun with, is the first thing that comes to my mind. And so like the words that I think I chose were like dreaming, and like I think Diende is the one with the tango dancing, and that's just, it's about being like so passionate and just like filled with awe, with like an artistical spectacle. I was like, oh, I want to draw that. I feel like I'm drawn to things that are floaty and like romantic, and they have movement, and I can kind of see that when I think of those words. I think the third one was midnight, and honestly, I love nighttime scenes, and I love drawing stars and mountains and stuff. So I'm like, oh, I want to do that too, but I had to like take a step back just because it was not the way that I was like conditioned to think of those words. I'm like, I'm trying to think of this in a way that I think a Spanish speaking person might think of it. So, and that made it a little bit more hard, but yeah, it was just like going through words and finding what kind of like sparks with me. And yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite parts of this process, was picking out the words and seeing what spoke to me.
I love that you chose words that were really, like, you had some passion about them. I feel like that's always a good reason to learn a language too, or learn anything really. Like, if you're really excited about something, it makes it kind of 100 times easier, and then also just kind of gets you into that space where you're ready to do it.
Yeah,
so maybe you'll know Spanish soon.
Maybe it's as soon as the grammar starts to like sneak in, that's when I take a step back. I'm like, oh no, I actually have to learn the logistics of this. So, but like hearing a fun word, I'm like, oh, that's so much more fun than the English word for it. So it just sparks something for sure.
I feel like the coolest thing about different languages are like words that have very like in-depth meanings, like words that can't be explained in like another language with one word, you know? Like I can't remember which one of them. I think it was the one with the dress. But you were talking about, you were like explaining what that one means. And I remember that definition was like much longer for you to explain. And those types of words are so interesting. I feel like it's one word to describe a whole experience that would take like a larger explanation in another language, which is so cool.
Yeah, and then it's like like that whole cliche, you know, a picture is 1,000 words, and I'm like, there you go, there's your picture. It takes me 10 words to say it in English, but here's the picture that helps me figure it out in a way too. I'm a very big visual learner person.
Would you ever take your art to like mural style? I could see like the midnight one being a huge mural. That'd be cool.
Maybe that'll be my next project, Renee. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I don't know. I would love to. I don't know how I would start doing that because currently I'm renting, so I don't think my landlord would be too hot if I practiced like in my house. But you know, we'll see. I'll just paint back over it. But I don't know. That's so cool. That's so cool. Murals.
I can't promise anything, but I will say I definitely have talked to a few of you about maybe doing a mural project at one point, like a group mural project. I think would be amazing. If we find a wall, we will paint it. I will definitely try and find that for you, Sarah, because murals are super fun. I think that'd be super fun for us to do actually as a group. Just to kind of close the loop on that, Meg said she loved watching that forest scene come to life. Definitely was amazing. I think I just have a love of like that whimsical look that you do, especially, and that one definitely was my favorite. I think they looked awesome. Brandon says,
"Thank you, Meg."
And he wants you to paint his house.
Will do, Brandon. Will do.
There you go. Okay, cool. We have a question for Jessica. Peyton is asking, what kind of paints do you use to make those flowers look so fluffy? And how did you not have the urge to touch them before they dried? That is a great question.
I use acrylic paste. So it's just like a medium that you mix your color with. For the daisies I didn't mix any. I didn't get any good video of me doing the other flowers that I did mix acrylic paint in, but that's how. And I kind of did, and I was mad at myself. Those first ones that I actually took off, I don't know, I hated how they turned out, so I was scraping them off of there. But they were easy to take off because it's just plastic once it dries. But that's all it is, just acrylic paste.
They still look like they look like they'd be squishy when you touch them, even after, well, I'm assuming they're dry.
Yeah, they still are a little bit. I don't know, it's kind of weird.
They remind me of like the flowers on a cake. Like I wanted to eat them. It was when you were scraping one off, I was like, I hope she takes a bite because it really did look like it would be delicious.
I agree.
That's so funny. That would have been hilarious, actually. That would have.
I think we're just hungry.
Just hungry. Just gonna eat this now.
Very good. Would it have been like fondant? Like.
Jessica, is there more trees that are being cut that you're gonna make more on?
Still have a lot more slices, yeah. And I'm actually working on a couple of projects for some friends. They want to paint and stuff. So, not butterflies, but like birds.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, it's so expensive to like buy those from a store, and you actually have them, and it's for a good reason. So definitely.
You should go look into like wood burning too. I'm like, you have so much wood, you could totally go into wood burning. I think those kits are on Amazon for pretty cheap, you know? So it might be kind of cool.
Yeah, I've looked into it a little bit. It would be pretty cool, like get some outlines, you know, burnt wood and then paint inside of them. I don't know though.
It's always a little fun when art's like just like 10% dangerous. Like, yes, I'm painting on wood. It's like with fire, but you know, it's it's exciting and it's just a little dangerous, I think.
Okay, I have a question for Lisa. How how did you do all of that? Honestly, I watched your video and I was like, like, what did you do? Like, did you record literally like all of the sound, all of the audio for that? And like, how did you come up with this?
So there's a lot of playing around. I have some footage in the video of like recording different sounds because I wanted a decent percussion. The sort of, so the song sort of started developing with a riff I made on guitar, and I wanted to not make it like a 4/4 beat, which is a standard where I was trying to be like different, right? So, but my riff is in 4/4, so I kept like, oh, I needed to make it different. So I was trying to find a percussion sound that like was not, I don't know, was nice, right? So I was trying to record different sounds by tapping on stuff, and nothing was really working except so the main beat in the actual song is from like the little keyboard, but playing the different keys with it and editing it in different areas of a 4/4 beat, if that makes sense. So within the time of that, it's just putting in those like in different areas of that to make it, I don't know, a little faster or whatever. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I mean it's still, I can't comprehend it as well as because I haven't actually done something like this before. But I think it answers my question. Like, so you basically made up an entire song and all of the sounds that went with, like, you made your own instruments kind of by making those sounds.
Tried to, like, at least the percussion is from the keyboard through different pedals to make it sound a little bit more, I don't know, percussive, like real, if it sounds real. But in the future, I would like to add real drums if it even works for that. But for now,
I was wondering, because you have the clip of the cup, of like tapping a cup. I was wondering how many random objects like that you ended up including, like in your GarageBand layers. There were so many. I was like, I want to know which ones of those are named like bathroom tile or like something random.
So with everything I was recording, it was just becoming a jumbled mess. So when there's some footage of the actual guitar cord, when you have it plugged in and you mess with the edge of the metal, I guess it makes different sounds. So that's the only actual recording that's in the background as like a sound. The rest of the stuff I recorded did not make it in there because it's just too much. Didn't sound good. But I have like recorded, the bathroom tub, which didn't make it in there. So
I don't know if you've ever listened to Billie Eilish before, but they're like, that is like her and her brother Phineas, like that is their like method. They like literally just go out and record sounds, and then it like you will listen to the final piece and it's just like sampled and repeated in the background. It's like the bass line, or it's like whatever, this 808s, and you don't realize that the 808s are like a stopwalk, like a crosswalk. There's like a crosswalk sound that I don't know. They were traveling somewhere, and the button that you click that's like wait when you're like waiting to cross the street. It made like a fancy sound, and I guess Billy really liked it, so they recorded it, and it's like the entire like bass line behind like one of the top hits on the radio now. It's like crazy how their method is, and it reminded me a lot of what you did because it's just like sounds, which is so cool.
That's cool. I like that. I want to organize, like I had different recordings from the last Chii show for stuff, for the water stuff I was using for that. I was using different sounds. So I had that library. I couldn't find it. So my next goal is to organize just like stuff I could find for whatever. But yeah, that's fun. You have everything around you as a tool. So
yeah, I feel like I'm always looking for free sounds anywhere I can find them every time we do these videos. So that's such a good idea. I I don't know if I'll attempt it myself, but I think it's really cool that you did all of that. Lisa's going to be the next Billie Eilish.
I'll get my brother too.
There you go. Oh my gosh, Joe. All right, cool. I saw some more questions, so I'm gonna skip over. Emily asked Megan, how do you feel your project impacted you when you completed it, and were you able to look back on the original list you created with a different mindset? It's a good question.
I don't know if I wouldn't know if I would say that I completely have a different mindset, because I'm like, I still don't love I don't love those things now, you know? It's like, I'm still gonna, unfortunately, probably criticize myself for, I don't know. Still gonna probably be a little shitty to myself about those things, but I definitely do think it helped give me a better light to just, if you separate my experience from the concept of like the flaw, it definitely helped me redefine the flaw, you know? Like it was definitely a therapeutic honestly, I think the most therapeutic part wasn't necessarily the end product, because by the end of it I was more so like just focused on the photos and on my process, which is a different type of therapy obviously. But like it was really therapeutic to like have to think about a way to present flaws about myself that weren't just like me showing myself, or like me showing my size as that flaw, you know, like, because I was trying to make, originally the idea was like still lifes. So the idea of using like inanimate objects to represent this issue or like whatever I see in myself. So that was definitely some type of therapy, because I don't know, it definitely made me rethink the word itself. So yeah, I mean, I think it definitely was beneficial. Don't know if it solved the problem for me, but it's a journey, so it doesn't matter. And it was a good experience overall.
That's kind of a good segue for another question that I had for all of you, actually. What is, I guess, in your mind, I guess, in light of this project, but then in general as well, what do you value more, the journey or the destination?
I think sorry, Sarah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I value more the journey, but the thing that I personally get caught up on and would be mad and get mad at myself if it's not great is the destination. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely think that I partake in this show because of the experience, but then I also get mad if my final product isn't like something I'm like excited about. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's both, but I think that the more important is the process.
I just feel like this question can get so philosophical. Like, I mean, I feel the same way. Like, there's some times where I'm like, oh, I gotta finish because I wanna, be done, not done, but to have something to show off. And then when I'm showing them off, I'm like, man, I could have done that better. I wish I could rewind and go back to the journey so I could do this differently. So I'm like, like, what if I go through the journey and the destination changes, and then you're still technically on that journey? And do we ever even reach like a final? Like, as an artistic perfectionistic person, I'm like, do I ever feel 100% happy with what I finished, or can I just look back and be like, oh, I should have done this better, this better, this better? So it's definitely like, when do I stop? When am I happy? Because right now I'm like, oh, I should have done this, but I don't know. I do like the journey, I think, best, just because the destination can feel so daunting sometimes. But if you just like sit down and work, and get caught up in that feeling of working, I think then that's when I reach my happy artistic zone and I'm just chilling. So
Totally with you there.
I think identifying the destination helps to keep you on track, though, to be like, okay, that's enough, or good enough, maybe.
Yes.
Or it sucks. But that definitely is like, okay, need to figure out how to get there, right? So instead of just don't know where to go, which is usually, I identify with that, but.
Oh, I totally agree. I actually think of the destination as more of a tool to force you to go through the journey. And I think the journey's, I've had multiple conversations with my husband about this since starting this. And we have taken both sides to try and argue it and figure it out. But I think the journey is definitely where you get all of like the important stuff for yourself. And at the end of the day, like the destination doesn't always matter when you get there. I mean, sometimes it's something that's really like life-changing, but for the most part, I think like most of what you get out of it is in the journey.
Also, like, we definitely can go crazy philosophical on this because it's like, what are we as human beings if not just like an accumulation of our experiences, you know? And like, you don't really, when you look back on your experiences, you don't look at like the end goal or the end result of the experience. It's like what you experienced, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know. I think that applies to a lot of things, especially creative work, but just being a human.
Definitely.
And there's like little, within this goal of this project, for instance, there's little destinations. Oh, I got to get this done to get the next thing done, right? So that helps to keep it in baby steps, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I heard I don't remember where it was. It was a podcast somewhere. They were talking about when people compare like what their like biggest ambitions are to what they actually want like written on their tombstone when they die, it's like completely different. And it's so funny how it's like, yeah, those goals are there, but what do they actually mean? Like in the grand scheme of things. Very interesting topic.
So what does everybody want on their tombstones?
this is so deep now. This is like, will you feel satisfied at the end of your life? You know?
Sarah, what do you want? Go.
I don't want to be buried. I want to be like made into a tree. First of all,
Sarah!
right?
Jessica will
so
use it to
cool.
paint on.
So
I do too.
It's so much cooler. Then someone can write their like initials on me, and I'm like, oh, love. You know, I'd rather be a tree. First of all, so I don't want a tombstone, Lisa. We're gonna ignore that. I don't know. Someone else answer this. I can't. I'm sorry.
How did that happen? Do you see that big?
Wait, yeah, I see it too. That's so funny. Meg, how'd you get up there? That's cool.
Sorry, guys. I have no idea how I did that.
Meg is the main character right now.
Yeah.
What happened?
Sorry, Meg.
We miss you, Meg.
Take it off.
Oh, that's hysterical. Oh my god.
I will try to figure this out.
That's okay. Like, oh no, she said, oh no. That's so funny.
I'm gonna ask another question.
Spirit with us.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really important comment, actually, so that's why it's up there. I think I figured it out. Okay. Better. Sorry about that. I have one more question from Peyton. She asked, Kristen, do you think you'll create more pieces like the ones that you did for the show? And if so, do you have new spaces or little buddies in mind?
I would love to make more of them. They were a ton of fun to do, and like each one I made, I was like, wow, this is my favorite one. And then I'd make the next one and it was like, wow, this is my favorite one. So I think I could just keep making them forever, probably. I don't know what other locations I would do. But I would definitely love to make more. So that'll be something that's that I'll be thinking about as we go on. Especially, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to finish the third one in time for the show, and I was definitely going to finish that if I didn't. So I think you'll probably see more of those from me.
I would love to see more because I agree with you. I saw the first two and you were like, maybe I'm going to do the third one. You mentioned the forest guy, and then I was like, as soon as I saw it, it's definitely my favorite. He's so cute.
I want Kristen to make more because I want one, and I'll pay for it because they're so cute.
I know.
Well, I'll take suggestions for creatures or locations.
A space one. He lives in Stardust.
Good one.
Are you selling the ones, Kristen? Or are you keeping them?
Yes, I do actually have these for sale, which is a first from me. I haven't sold my work from the other shows. So they're available to a good home if anyone's interested.
Sorry, I'm just curious because you have done a couple of shows now, and that is a good point. Do you feel like you are selling it now because you have been doing more work and you are able to part with it better, or like what do you think changed for you that you're able to actually put these out there?
Well, the last couple I ended up giving as gifts to family members. So the first one with the tiny embroidery hoops is in my aunt's house now, and the pillow was always kind of intended as a Christmas gift for my mother-in-law. So that's a big part of why I didn't sell those. And also, I think as an artist, pricing your work is also very difficult. And so I strayed away from that a bit for the first show in particular. But I got kind of a better idea, I think, through doing these shows. And also, I love these pieces so much, but I don't have anywhere to put them. And I know that if they're in reach of cats, they will be eaten, which limits me a lot. So
that's probably a good problem to have as an artist, because you're right, we will like keep and hoard all of our things. It's really hard to let go of them sometimes, so maybe a good problem in this case.
My grandma, she's a wood carver, and so she has like a tons of wood carvings and stuff. And I grew up and I would always go to her house, and she always had so much art and things. And my sister like said to me one day, she's like, Sarah, you know, you're just like grandma. You're like an artist. You're a hoarder. I'm like, what? I'm not a hoarder. She's like, yeah, all artistic people are hoarders. I promise. I'm like, that stings a little bit. It stings a little.
Totally. I think I'll hoard a lot of I didn't put these ones for sale, but I kind of felt like they were they're still in the journey part of things. They're not exactly, I don't know, I'm still experimenting. More questions, you guys. Does anyone have any other questions for our artists? Just want to keep the conversation going. If you have any more, please ask them. In the meantime, oh, Lisa, did you have one?
Sorry, I have a question for yours.
Go for it.
How many layers do you usually put on, and do you have a plan usually what is on each layer?
I do. I'll have like a little kind of a diagram of like stacks of how I would stack it ideally. This one, I think that's the thing. That's the reason I don't feel like it's ready to go anywhere yet, because I want to add more layers. As always, I think I played with some really cool techniques this time that took up more experimentation time than I have had with resin before, which was super exciting to me, but it also makes me want to put more layers and use more resin. So it's just a little bit of a process. I think the biggest thing for me with it is the more layers you put, the more time you need to factor in, and not even just for like drying the resin, like all of the paint has to dry before you can actually pour the resin, because it will have like bubbles in it. So just to like kind of restrict myself to maintain the quality as much as possible is a little bit difficult sometimes, but I like putting as many as I can. I think on these, the most I had was like 2. And it's at kind of different parts of them.
What's the most you've ever had in any piece?
Ever. I think I had maybe, might have been like 5 layers, I want to say, on I think it was my first piece for, it was actually the first Chii for All. I did like a very large round, kind of like a tabletop, and it had a ton of layers on it, and I kept just adding. I also forget sometimes how expensive it's gonna be, and I'll just like be pouring and pouring, and then I'm like, oh, I'm out of this resin and I have to spend another $100 to buy more resin. So that happens sometimes too, and I think if it didn't, I might add more than I do already.
I love how big yours get, Renee. I feel like this, like, I love, like, I know I remember studying, like, Roscoe, I think, in college is the name of the guy who paints huge stuff, and you're supposed to get as close as possible in order to, like, for it to, like, be in your whole vision. And I kind of want Renee's to get, like, that big just so I can kind of feel like I'm in it, you know?
Yes. I love that, because I love working very large as well. So, again, we need to do a mural sometime, just saying.
Do you think you'd ever make them like really tiny and stuff? Like,
I would. Yeah, I kind of, I don't know, I like playing with scale in general. Each of them have their own kind of challenges and like fun little things. Anything where I can find something fun to experiment with and like layer differently, then that's always what I tend to do. Who is this question for? Meg says, when I saw you put some of that dimensional goo around the one guy, I was like, ooh, what is that? Okay, so that was silicone, and I was experimenting with trying to find a way to pour on part of it without pouring on the whole thing. So I wanted to pour like colored resin only on parts of it. It was very challenging, and yes, technical term, dimensional goo. It was super challenging. I don't even know. I don't know if I would do it that way again. It was a lot of work to get that stuff off afterwards. I love the effect of it, but I think there's probably a more refined way of doing it that I'm gonna have to play a little bit more with. We do have a question for all of us. Brandon asks, what's the next project for each of us? That's a really tough one, actually. Does anyone know?
Project Sleep. Right, Renee? Right, Renee?
Yes.
A mural, please. Actually, Jessica's got me thinking. I love butterflies. They're so fun. And I was like, I had this project from a few years ago where I got giant pieces of cardboard and I made myself wings, and like I laid down and took pictures of me in them, and they were so fun. And then I was like, when I saw Jessica's butterflies, and I was like, I want to make giant butterfly wings again, just because they're just so free and the weather is so nice again, and I want to be a butterfly, I think, subconsciously. So the butterflies just make me so happy. I loved them.
Yeah, they're really fun to raise. I don't know, part of me, because I also hate bugs, like I have to like disconnect from the fact they are a bug. So sometimes
It's a pretty bug. It's different.
Yeah.
They are at their face, and I'm just like, ugh, you know, I don't know. Like I like them, I do. But part of me is just, I don't know. It's weird.
That actually was going to be one of my questions for you, Jessica, while we're on it. How did you even get into this process with the monarchs, and kind of, do you mind explaining like really quickly what exactly you do with them? Because it's very intriguing.
Yeah, so I started this a few years ago, and one of my friends, her mom's done it for years, and she kind of showed me, oh, you take the caterpillars off the leaf, you know, you find milkweeds out in the wild, you take them off and you just feed them milkweed, and then they'll get into a chrysalis and you let them go. It's actually a little more challenging than that. There's a lot of parasites, so if you get them when they're caterpillars, bugs can lay eggs in them, and they will die when they to form a chrysalis. So what I do is I find them when they're eggs. So you look on the bottom of milkweed leaves and you see like little white dots on it. You cut those out. I put them in little containers and I raise them from eggs up until then. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea you were like that involved. That's so cool.
She's like a mom. Raising them. So sweet.
I'm like, you didn't make it. How come? You had everything you needed. But it's just luck of the draw sometimes.
Do you name them?
No, I don't. Can't keep track of them all like that. They're all in these giant containers, like 5 to 8 of them in each one, and I'm like, I can't tell them apart. I don't know.
That's so cool. You have like I think you have a special touch with anything nature, Jessica. It's definitely something in you.
Thank you.
And definitely in your artwork too, for sure. We have another question. Jenna is asking, what are each of your favorite types of medium? Watercolor, acrylic, woodworking, digital, etc.
It's a hard one.
It is. I think all of us have kind of jumped around. Definitely. We've had kind of fabric and textile and embroidery stuff. We've had painting. We've had digital artwork. We've had music, music videos. We've had so many different things, really, like lots of different materials. I think I have a couple. I would say for me, probably definitely resin with paint and leather. And I feel like wood is always like somehow involved in all of that too. I like things where I don't, not that I don't enjoy working on the computer, but I think because I do it for work, I really enjoy being off of it for these kind of projects. And I think it's kind of a little more healthy for me to not be staring at a screen for this as well.
I feel like I gravitate towards digital stuff just because I'm trying to like teach myself a little bit more and trying to pick up a good process. But if I could paint with watercolor all day, I think I would. Because there are some nights if I get like myself situated and I have a bunch of paint, I could just make paintings for hours. I know watercolor is sometimes people just hate it, but I just, like I said earlier, I love like that kind of freedom-y movement, I think, in work and in like literature and stuff. So I feel like watercolor just has like this this freedom and this lightness to it that some other mediums really don't. So I love watercolor a lot.
Anyone else have a favorite?
I do a lot of digital, and I do really love digital because there's just so many options. But since I stare at screens all day, I think embroidery is kind of more of my like comfort medium, I guess. It's a lot more relaxing to work with, and I really love all of the different experimentation that I can do with it. So I think that would probably win out over digital. Just because, you know, you don't want to be staring at screens all day, and that's what I do for my job. And so it's really nice to take a break and work with the embroidery.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I lean a little bit more towards digital. Photography is my favorite though, which photography, like it's digital photography, but it doesn't feel like I'm like on a computer until I'm editing, and which honestly editing is kind of my favorite part. So maybe it is digital, but like the act, like setting up a photo shoot, I really like, before I started like, before I graduated college and started working full time as a designer, I did a lot of like freelance photography, like portraits and stuff. And that was so fun to me. I think the act of shooting a moving target, like shooting something that's alive and like physically moving. I take pictures of Happy Meal toys as part of my job, which is very fun, but it's like very technical and it's very detailed. And yeah, and it's interesting, but I think that my brain isn't necessarily naturally geared that way. Lisa's brother's brain is geared that way. He has mentored me in it. He is so freaking fantastic at it. It's actually unreal how detail oriented it is up there for him. Yeah. It's like, it's so insane. It's like he works in such a way that's so foreign to me. And honestly, Lisa, I feel like your brain is very much so the same. You guys are very similar in so, like detail. You guys, there's so much thought in every detail of everything that both of you do. And I think I like the version of photography that I have where I just pick the camera up and I'm like, bam, bam, bam. Like I'm just like making it up and shooting like a crazy woman. But I feel like there's a lot of like, I don't know, shots in between shots that are interesting and surprising. Like there's a lot of surprise, which I think is like the most fun for me creatively to do. So that's my long-winded answer. Gonna shut up now.
It's your style. I like the same technique is definitely not for everyone. Just like Sarah said, watercolor. I mean, it's either you love it or you hate it. And I feel like everyone either gravitates toward like something that's more structured or something that's kind of more loose and free. And there's all the in-betweens. So it's very interesting, but there's no wrong way. I think everyone has to use the one that kind of fits best for them to do their best work anyway.
Again, I'm right there with you in terms of, I think what it sounds like you're saying is like happy accidents, right? It's pretty much, that's my function of as long as you're enjoying it, you're finding the things you want to see, right? And then kind of like claiming them, I guess, and then editing them. I think my brother's a planner though. I'm not like that at all. Yeah. So I'm like, hope for the best. So I understand what you're saying, I guess.
Sometimes I'll take a photo and I'm like, that's not even in focus. And it's still like, I still like it. And it's still going to make my selects because I'm like, your face might be slightly weird looking because it's not fully crispy, but you're making a great face and I need to send it to you anyways, you know? So I don't know.
But it's probably translating into a feeling, right? Simplest way to say it, I guess.
I love like photography from like the 90s and the early 2000s, like where like it's all on film and like what you've captured is what you've captured. And I feel like today and the way that people now take pictures, like everything is perfect. You look amazing. Your body is like snatched, you know, and it's going to go on Instagram and stuff. But sometimes like when you see like those pictures from like the 90s and it's like mid-laugh or a little bit more, you know, just natural, I think sometimes is just really more human sometimes to me. But I don't know. I know photography has come a long way, but I like the like you said, like the little mistakes and those happy little accidents and stuff. And I think sometimes perfection, you know, obviously gets in the way of that.
Yeah, I think also just like for a medium that's supposed to like reflect life, like imperfection is what's more reflective of like life, you know, and of existence. So I feel like it's nice. It's nice to give yourself a little grace there with photography, I would say. And I think the like revival of disposables like definitely is like a result of that, because it really is like you can take 400 photos of something on your phone in 2 seconds and sift through them and find the perfect one and edit it for 2 hours and make it exactly what you want it to be. But then when you like shoot on film, you get what you get. Like, I don't know. It's definitely a renaissance of that, I think, right now. It's cool.
And I don't know if we missed anyone. Anyone else have a favorite medium?
Meg said fully crispy, another good technical term.
Yes.
I feel like it's just a good word.
Agree with you, Megan. We have another question, and now that I know how to put these things up, I've been putting them up like crazy. Brandon asks, outside of your art, what else do you do as a creative outlet?
I like to bake. I think it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's fun to make something that you're going to eat.
Yeah, I like to bake as well. Not as good as at baking as I am at cooking, though. And I think it comes down to the happy accidents thing again, where it's like you cannot miss something in a recipe when you're baking, but I could throw 3 extra tablespoons or teaspoons of salt in there and it's still going to be good if I'm making pasta, you know, so.
Or garlic. I always add
garlic.
Garlic. Like
Double the amount of cloves every single time, at least.
I'm trying to think, but I don't actually know. I feel like everything that I do creative is actually in the like art and drawing and sketching, like random sketching, or I don't know. Everything that I do for fun that's creative is actually more like traditional creative. I'll have to think about that some more.
Well, Renee, you do you make Panko houses.
I do. I guess I think of that as kind of a another art project too.
I feel like it's not necessarily directly in your like you're not gonna put in your book though, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh no, I do a lot of like totally unvaluable things that are just for my own enjoyment, definitely.
And thereby valuable.
Yes. I have on occasion made little pop-up greeting cards for people just for fun. So that's another, I like paper stuff too.
I like origami when I have like the time and stuff to do it. Like it's a bucket list thing to do, but like they say if you make 1,000 origami paper cranes, you get a wish. And you know, that's gonna take a while too, like all my goals. But yeah, I have like a bunch of giant paper cranes around the house, so I'm gonna try to add those up for sure. It still just feels like stereotypical artsy craft sort of hobbies. I like to thrift a lot. I don't know if that's really creative, but it's like a hunt. It's like a hunt, and that's what makes it, and that's what makes it thrilling. So I think art has thrilling moments, and if I thrift and I find something I really like, oh yeah, that's thrilling. That's spicy. I like that.
An outlet, creative outlet.
Yeah. I like reading a lot. I love to read, and if I can imagine something in my head and make myself like a story in my head, I love to do that too. Big reader. Love to read.
I've color-coded my bookshelf. Does that count?
I've been so nervous to ask Kristen to take a picture of her bookshelf so I can see if we have any books that are similar. I'll ask you later, but I'm like, mine's like right here, and I always kind of close it, and it's filled to the brim. I need a bigger one. So
yeah, you can kind of see. I don't know what direction I'm pointing right now. There are books that are not like actually on the shelf like they should be, right now, but one day they'll get there.
See, but you actually have a bookshelf. Mine's an old medicine cabinet that I thrifted like 10 years ago. Like I said, thrifting. But yeah, I need an actual bookshelf. But love reading. Love it.
Jenna says, yes, Sarah. I also love reading.
I know she does. I go book shopping with Jenna. That's my friend. She knows.
Do you find value in the digital book?
I'm so materialistic. I love to hold it.
Yeah.
I like to be like, ooh, like Belle and Beauty and the Beast. I'm holding a book. So cool and romantic. Who is she with her book? And the Starbucks. I like books.
It's the experience. It's the experience.
I should like ebooks. I should be a better conservatively, care about the environment, but I like my books.
We're all in the field of art and design.
Sarah with her tens of thousands of unused sketchbooks. But, I care about the environment so much. And so much paper I have, so much.
Well, and you know what? If you're buying your books secondhand, then they were already created, so.
Yeah, going back to thrifting. Here we go.
And if you get made with the recycled paper, you're good.
Exactly. I don't feel guilty about anything anymore. I'm good.
Yes, I agree, Jenna. There's no shame in that. Anyone else? Creative things you do outside of artwork, like raising butterflies. I feel like it's so creative.
I just started it because the moth population was so bad. There was like years where I didn't see a single one, and now if you just watch around like late summer, early fall, you'll see them. They're out now, and it's really cool to see them alive again.
Definitely. I feel like that's like a very intrinsically creative act, just like helping something actually develop. Super cool to me. And
Sorry, go ahead, Renee.
No, I've just never known. I've never met anyone else that did that.
It's so cool. I heard on NPR like a couple months ago that monarchs, their numbers are dwindling sadly. But are they like ducks? Do they come back to the place they're born, or are they just sort of?
They do. So I don't know how they do it, like generational wise, because each location they fly up to, they lay the eggs, they die, and then those eggs fly up to the next location, and it's just like a cycle, and they remember the path that their ancestors or whatever took. It's really
don't they? I think I saw like a chart once, and they fly around like like where a glacier used to be, or something like that, in the middle of the Americas. Like there used to be a glacier, and they fly around it like it's still there. Butterflies are cool bugs. Very cool.
Crazy. All right. Does anyone have any last questions? Anyone who is watching? I know we've been on for a while, so we are going to start wrapping up. Any of you artists have any questions for each other?
Yes. Is everybody going to continue Like, Sarah, are you going to continue with more words? Like a book? I could see that being like a
Oh,
whole thing, you know?
she meant my talking. I was like, maybe.
What?
I thought you meant like saying stuff.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to make a few more. Once I got into it, I was like, oh, there's so many cool words out there that aren't English. I want to keep going. And once I got into like the mood of just being like, oh, I love my size. I love like coming up with the sentences and stuff. I definitely was. I liked it not being like a whole book though. Like if it was all like one character, I would have probably gotten a little bit bored. But that I get to like choose the makeup book that it is, I definitely want to make a few more for sure.
Everybody? Because I can see everybody doing more pieces of exactly what they're doing.
I think I'm definitely like I'm already kind of in the middle of it. If you guys can see behind me, that is a very large piece that I initially started with, and it's got like probably 15 of the characters that I did individually on the pieces that I did do, and they were all going to be just as layered and detailed and all of that. So I have that piece to finish, but I also like. I have been searching for a while for something that really could capture different elements of my style, both in terms of like the energy characters that I like to create and kind of like the bringing like the, I guess, bringing visibility to something that's unseen and really like kind of showing how, at least how it like relates in my brain. And then kind of more human characters or animal characters or, you know, something that is seen. I kind of like the mixture of having both of those in my work, which that larger piece is definitely going to have. And I can even like, and the ones that I did for this show, I feel like they're a little bit more grounded, like more connected. I feel like I'm speaking in very ambiguous language right now, but like to me it's totally more like it resonates with me more than the work that I've done in the past. Even I think it's a little bit more expressive, and I think that's kind of like something that we're all looking for, right? Like we want to express our true selves through our work, and be like as much of that as we can, and like be able to actually get as much of ourselves into it as we can. A little bit, at least for me, maybe it's my artist ego, but I really enjoy it, and I think I'm definitely going to do more of this.
I have a question for Megan, because I know we were chatting during like our progress sessions over the past like month. I know you, and obviously we saw your video of you out in public throwing like your wig in front of, I think you were like in a DePaul, like in that college, you were like in a college like park. Do you think being in a public space and there was a risk of embarrassment, do you think that pushed you in a creative way, or did it hinder you a little bit at all? Or did you just sort of like not care at the end?
It hindered me a little bit. I definitely think if I was like in the middle of nowhere in a field shooting that shot where I was throwing the wig, that would have been more effective because I would have let myself play longer, I think. And like experimented maybe a little bit more, but I was out there for a long time. Like I was telling my roommate today, I literally was just like talking to myself that whole time, because there was people who would walk by. There's this one guy who like slowly walked all the way diagonally across the quad and was like staring at me the whole time. And I just kept laughing at myself and just like talking to myself, because I was like, these people probably think I am insane. So I think it was a fun exercise in like pushing myself to I think I embarrassed myself a lot but like pushing myself to continually embarrass myself, and just like, because I wanted that final product, I was like so set on like shooting it flying through the sky. Like I was like so set on that. So I don't know. It hindered me a little bit. I definitely think if I was in the middle of nowhere, I would have played for longer. But I think that it was also kind of a cool extra element of my project of that fear of being perceived bullshit. I'm like, well, let's go make a freaking idiot of ourselves of countless people for an hour and a half. That sounds fun. So I don't know. It was cool.
It's a cool idea to think about, because like it's all of us we're making stuff, and you do that by yourself. But at the end of the day, at the end of the show, you have to talk about it to people who are watching, and you don't even know if they're watching. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm being perceived. It's like then you're on the stage, and it changes, I think, how you talk about it and how you think about what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry. I just realized that I froze for a moment, but that's okay. Technical difficulties.
It's like back to that journey discussion. Definitely. Oh, nobody finished. Did any of Jessica or Kristen or Megan have any answers for Lisa's question about if you'll continue doing kind of what you started in this project?
I kind of already am. I have some friends that are wanting me to do some stuff for them for like butterflies and one with birds. So I actually have it right here with me somewhere.
Ooh, right.
That's cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I gotta make use of those.
How heavy are those?
I don't know. I haven't weighed them. Probably 10 pounds. I don't know. 8. Trying to be a little generous because I know that I don't know. I don't feel weight as much as other people do. I have like a lot of muscle, but not to brag. I don't.
Jessica.
Go, I'm strong. Like
that's awesome.
Hey, gotta own that.
And they'll be like heavy, and I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
That's funny because I only asked because it looked like it was light because you're carrying it.
She just makes it look light. Natalie says that's amazing.
Thank you, Natalie.
We have, Meg, you asked how did I make that animation? I'm guessing you're talking about the little Chii, my energy animation at the beginning and the end. It's just a GIF, actually. I am not like a super skilled animator. I think GIFs are pretty much the extent of it for me, but I kind of just use that and then use some effects in After Effects. I will show you if you want to try it sometime. Jenna asks, what is one of your biggest artistic splurges? Like a camera or something like that. I'm guessing this is to any of us.
Probably my iPad. It's great for digital drawing and stuff. I use Procreate a lot. Definitely a good investment.
I just got a new camera, like a digital one. Ooh. And I've always had film. So now I have a camera that can like send Bluetooth pictures to my phone, and I'm like, oh, it's heavenly. That's fun. Having a camera is very cool.
Just trying to think. Mine is probably my Wacom Cintiq. It's the big drawing screen, essentially.
Do you have the biggest one, Renee?
I have actually at home. I have it's an older one, so it's not the largest, but it's like the 22-inch or something like that. It's my second monitor, and I love it, and I use it all the time.
Yeah.
You have it too, Jessica?
Yep, I have one too. It's amazing.
I have one too.
I got spoiled in college in the animation there. I was like, I can't go any smaller. Get that.
Yeah, no, same here. I mean, like, I need one of those at home, like at all times. And it's even kind of stopped me from going like the iPad route, just because I'm like, why would I ever want to go smaller than this? It's like so nice. And I can also use it as like another monitor. I know it's not really portable at all. Maybe when Wacom comes out with like a giant portable one, I'll just lug that around with me everywhere, and that'll be my next biggest purchase. Anyone else? Big splurges on fun artistic things?
Mine's definitely also my iPad. My and maybe like camera lenses. Those are kind of expensive.
Yeah. Anything, honestly, like it's interesting and also kind of sad that like generally, I mean, I know it's not always the case, but generally artists are not like the people that make a ton of money. But everything that we need to make art can be very expensive. So
yeah,
that's an interesting question. Okay, cool. I don't see any other questions that we missed. Hopefully I got everyone's. And thank you, everyone who's watching, so much for actually asking lots of questions and engaging with us. I feel like this has been a super fun conversation. Honestly, I feel like I really look forward to this part of our shows. We have good conversations. Like Megan said, we meet every week, and we kind of just chat about what's going on with us. And I think we have great conversations there. Sometimes they're more stressful than others, because sometimes I think in the past couple of weeks we've all been like, just let's stop talking. It's time to get things done. And it's fine. There's definitely the time for that. But I think at the end of that, I really look forward to this part of our show and actually getting to just like chat with you guys about everything that we just experienced, and really see how other people have interacted with it and thought about it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that. So thank you everyone who's watching, and thank you to all of you artists who are here today.
Thank you for doing another great show, organizing it, everything, etc.
Thank you, Renee.
There will be
keeping calm in panic times.
my superpower. There would definitely be lots more. Thank you everyone who's making comments. We are definitely doing another show, and next theme pancakes. I've seen a couple theme offerings here.
Can I ask where do you have a list of themes, Renee, or is it just come naturally? Like, okay, kind of go with the flow.
I have I kind of have a growing list of them. I just like jot them down whenever I think of something, and it's cool because like while we're in the middle of a show, I feel like things will come up that I'm like, oh, this would be really cool. But yes, I don't know about pancakes, but definitely if people have ideas, any of you guys who are in the shows, and I think I've told you guys this before, if you have ideas for different themes that we could try and that you're interested in, definitely shoot them out to me and we can put them in our list. But yes, we will do more shows. And just for everyone watching, we are looking at what like physical spaces we can actually get into too. And I think this is kind of a really exciting time for us because we've been doing these shows now, and we've really, I'm going to say it for all of us, we've all grown a ton from doing them, and we've grown our body of work. Not really, I hate to even call it work. It's really like our way of showing our own creativity and having that voice. So we've each grown our voice creatively, and kind of have a lot of legs to stand on when it comes to kind of getting this out to the world. So I'm super excited about looking into those opportunities as well, coming up hopefully pretty soon. And we'll for sure continue doing the virtual shows too. I think obviously always open to like how we can improve them, but I think it's been great for everyone to have that chance. And it's kind of nice that even though like doing a video can be stressful for some of us more than others probably, I think the ability to do this online and just reach so many people and like be able to I know it kind of came as a means of doing something during COVID, but really like being able to do this is awesome. And we get to share our work with so many people, and it wouldn't happen without being able to do it online. So I'm really grateful for like the opportunity to start it like this. And I think that there's no reason to stop doing it if we still enjoy it and are growing from it. So yeah, I definitely think we will have more in store. But yes, I think if everyone is good and I don't see any more questions, we can kind of wrap up. But I did want to say just super, super thank you to everyone who was in the show. And I'm honestly so proud of the work that everyone did. Like it shows your growth more than anything, and like how you struggled with it. And I know we've had this talk before too, like the struggle. It's all in the struggle, but honestly, like we struggled so much with this one, but I think it had a great return in the end. And everything just turned out the way that it should have for each of us, I think, both in terms of the journey and the destination and kind of where it's taking us from here too. So happy to do that with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
It always feels good at this point to get to this point with everybody involved. Be like, yes, now we can have a drink or something.
Lisa, you don't drink.
I know. That's true. You know. Get your water.
Me
but,
too.
But keeping the videos going like this, even just like looking back just at the accomplishment and where we were and are, I think I appreciate that a lot. So
yeah, and it's like something worth celebrating and like worth recognizing for sure.
Yeah.
So awesome work, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who came to watch. It's been awesome. And we will hopefully see you again soon. I think probably the next one will be sometime near the end of the summer. As always, I like to put it out there because it's going to happen. But thank you, everyone. We will log off, but have a great night. And we loved having you here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.